In buildings which aren't well constructed, then the roofs are going to collapse. So they need to find somewhere safe.
Yeah. She's here. Don't hang out. Wendy.
Wendy Rice. Let him in. Give him anything he wants. They found Rick legally.
I'm Sergeant Jeffrey Johnson. Hope you guys understand the precautions.
Yes. Thank you for letting us in.
There's water downstairs.
Thank you.
After you guys. Follow me.
What is this place?
It's an old Cold War bunker, sometimes used as a relay station for NORAD.
Are you based here?
No, sir, I just service the equipment. I tour all these sites, spend 2-3 days in each one.
You've got food and water?
For 5 days, for one man.
Meanwhile, panic buying strips shelves across the Midwest as fear grows over the duration of the Yellowstone eruption. Financial markets have been...
臨時ニュースが入ってきました。アメリカ・ワイオミング州イエローストーン国立公園の巨大噴火はやっと沈静化した模様です。
No sé aún es la escala de la erupción. Las próximas horas serán críticas y Estados Unidos se prepara para soportar.
This is what I call a GG, a global geophysical event. It's going to affect everyone on the planet. The government has to start planning now for how we're going to eke out the supplies we have because, well, we really are in for a hell of a time.
The scale of the eruption is still the subject of conflicting and confusing reports. While officials claim it is the small to moderate event predicted, the ash cloud has spread well beyond the area that's been evacuated, prompting fears that the eruption is much bigger than anticipated.
Oh, God. I can't believe I forgot about it. Try that again. We can go back to what you had before.
There we are.
Are you getting this, Rick?
Yeah, almost.
What do you make of it?
Show me the satellite image.
Mapping, bring up satellite.
Okay, go closer. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, can you give me the thermal image?
Hey, Wiley, what's he doing?
Gauging how big the eruption is. Trying to figure out how long it'll last.
Well?
Looks to me as if the various vents are beginning to define the rim of the new caldera. So I suspect that eventually they'll all merge to unzip themselves into a single massive vent.
Rick, can you give me any idea of how long this eruption will last?
Well, this looks about half as big again as the previous caldera, so I think you're looking at something 60 kilometers by 90 kilometers. I mean, we are looking at an event on the scale of the Huckleberry Ridge eruption. It was the first at Yellowstone, and the biggest.
And?
And if that ejected
2,500 cubic kilometers of material, then we have to make some kind of estimate for the rate of ejection, and then you do the math, and you've got your duration.
Give me a figure, Rick.
Say that again?
A figure. Give me a figure.
Well, you want me to guesstimate?
Yes.
We're looking at a duration of...
Between 5 and 9 days.
But it doesn't matter how long it lasts, Wendy. Make no mistake, we are looking at a VEI here.
So there's no question anymore.
What happened?
Lost the link. Let's get that signal back.
VEI 8, Michael.
Super eruption.
Yeah, worst case scenario.
No, it isn't. Jock Galvin, he was at the field office when the eruption
Worst
started.
case scenario isn't a super eruption. The worst case scenario is a super eruption which goes on and on. If a volcano ejects more than 1,000 cubic kilometers of magma, it's a VEI 8. The magma chamber under Yellowstone has the capacity of 25,000 cubic kilometers. Problem is, we don't know how much of that is eruptible magma. But that is what will dictate whether this eruption goes on for days or for weeks. By day 3, the volcano showed no signs of slowing. The ash cloud had covered 3/4 of the United States. Cities like Chicago, St. Louis, Detroit, Minneapolis, they were at a total standstill. Roads, railways, airports were all closed. The power supplies failed. The water was polluted. Every day it moved eastwards by another 150 kilometers. And all we could do was sit and watch.
So you guys are brothers-in-law?
He married my sister. I didn't approve.
She needed some sanity in her life.
Oh, well, she got that, didn't she? Married to a man now. Works on top of an enormous volcano.
Where's she now?
Fiona, she's in London.
Well, at least she's okay.
She's not okay. She's not okay. And as long as this eruption continues, there's nobody on the planet that's going to be okay.
Can't afford to think like
Oh,
that, can we?
come on. Toss a coin. Heads we live, tails we die. It's that random, Rick. Don't you try and be reasonable. Not now.
Ken.
Oh, come on. We're running out of water. We're running out of food. The air is slowly turning to poison.
You believe in God, sir?
God.
Yeah.
You believe that this is all God's wrath, Johnson?
I believe in his mercy.
Oh, nice. Well, you can go outside and you can tell those hundreds of thousands of people who have just died in this sudden cataclysmic eruption of God's mercy.
It's not helping.
I'm not
man.
trying to help, Rick. You expect optimism at the end of the world.
Well, if that's what it is, then you should probably go upstairs and take a big gulp of air then. Because otherwise, what are we sitting down here for? You know, are we delaying the inevitable? Is that what we're doing?
In my book, that's exactly what we're doing.
Well, in my book, I'd like to think that I get to see Fiona and Will again. You know, and in Johnson's that he gets to see his family. I think as long as we remain focused on that, we're going to be a lot better off.
Yeah, well, my book's more pessimistic, isn't it?
Yeah, well, your books always are.
l'eruzione possa essere contenuta o se ci troviamo di fronte ad uno dei peggiori disastri.
We have no clear idea of how long it might last or what devastation it might reach.
يشير آخر الأنباء إلى أن الحمم والصخور التي قذفها الانفجار البركاني.
Listen to the advice of your local emergency services. Follow it. May God be with you all.
Hundreds of thousands of US citizens are homeless as they've fled from the ash cloud that now covers 3/4 of the country. Thousands of others have been trapped in their homes, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency admits it could be weeks before they can get aid to them.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Morning, all. One hour ago, Air Force One took off from Andrews en route to a military bunker in Florida. That information does not leave this room. You can't run a country under several feet of volcanic ash, but some sections of the media will still say she's running away. Now, can we get to business? Wendy, how many people in the fallout zones?
About 25 million.
Casualty estimates so far?
In the immediate zone, 90%, excluding those that got out early. In zone 2, we estimate 10% mortality. That's approximately 35,000 people. Zone 3, 5% mortality. That's 122,000 people. Zone 4, 3% mortality, 85,000 people. Zone 5, estimate 1% mortality, 220,000 people. Total estimated deaths for the first week, 462,000. And that's assuming Zone 1 is clear.
These are all from the ash?
Mainly. Either directly from ash inhalation or indirectly from roof and building collapse, power failures, especially in the hospitals, ash-related accidents.
Sir, standard advice to people was that they store enough food and water for only 3 days. Today is day 3.
Then what are we going to do?
Oh, excuse me? Wendy Rice.
Look, even when it ends, we won't be able to fly for weeks with the ash still blowing around. So what are we actually talking about?
You find a way. You don't just write off 25 million people.
Good. Put him through. We've got Rick Lieberman here. Rick, can you hear me?
Yeah, hang on. Yeah, we got you.
Rick, we have 4 more vents open since yesterday.
All right. Has Dave been able to model these?
We can't raise Dave.
Say that again?
I'm sorry, Rick. We can't raise Dave.
Secretary Foster here, Rick. We need to know how long this eruption is going to last so we can plan how to rescue 25 million people.
With all due respect, Mr. Foster, I think you've got to change your game plan. What you have told people is to stay put and to sit this out and to wait for your help.
I believe there's simply no realistic way for you to honor that, sir. And I think that if you do, people are going to die waiting for you.
You need to retract your advice. You need to retract your advice. You need to tell them to come to you.
Mr. Lieberman, FEMA will draw on every resource possible to rescue these people. That's our federal obligation.
No, sir, this is not about protocol, Mr. Foster. This is about survival and nothing more. I mean, when this ashfall stops and the air starts to clear, the people who are trapped are going to, like we are going to start walking. They're going to start walking rather than stay here and wait to die. And they're certainly not going to make it, sir, without your help. You need to help us. You need to tell us where to walk. We need to have supplies dropped for us along the way. I mean, if we are going to walk for life, then it's up to you guys to help us.
Damn it.
He wants people to walk through the ash? Wait, is he crazy?
The added complication was that 8 out of 10 FEMA centers who would normally help to coordinate the rescue were out of action because they too were under the ash cloud. It was only the very eastern and western coast with a very fine covering of ash who were still functioning. So we had to look outside for help with our allies, South America, Europe, Australia. But you see, it was about that time, 3 to 4 days in, that people outside the US started to wake up to the fact that this wasn't just our catastrophe. It was theirs too. They could see it because that was the time it took for the sulfur aerosols from Yellowstone to go right around the globe and start a global disaster.
Meanwhile, the first effects of the disaster are being felt closer to home as skies turn red over large areas of Britain due to the huge concentrations of sulfur dioxide released by the eruption. Ashfall has been reported on cars and buildings all over the country. Well, how serious these effects will become largely depends on
right now, but if you'd like at the moment. The new twist would be the onslaught of really heavy rainfall. When you get big eruptions like this, tiny ash particles act as a nuclei for water droplets, so you get torrential rain.
Hundreds of thousands of US citizens.
Lahars from the volcano swept 23,000 people to their deaths.
Thousands of others have been. Well, how serious? These effects will become largely depends on how long the eruption continues. As our science correspondent Bill Copley.
Where are you?
I just keep thinking, could I have done something different? Should I have done something different? Just been more decisive or stronger if I could have, made the call earlier. Maybe that would have changed things. Maybe that would have saved some lives. I guess that's up to other people to judge. And my family, it's them who will be left with the fallout of that. These men that I'm with, they think that if we stay put, that we're going to be rescued. But I honest to God believe that if we wait, if we just watch and wait, honest to God think that we're as good as dead.
By day 5, over 2,000 cubic kilometres of ash and pumice had been dumped across the United States. 2,500 times more than the fallout from Mount St. Helens. But that was only about 10% of what was in the magma chamber. How much more would come out depended on how much more eruptible magma was down there. The country was already on its knees. Thousands of people dead, millions of others homeless. If it didn't stop soon, well, let's just say we were running out of options.
We have just received reports that Mexican authorities closed the border 4 hours ago. According to aid workers in the area, 3 million people have now gathered at the Mexican border, many of them without shelter, food, or money. Maggie Chin, KCBZ News.
It closed the border?
To U.S. citizens, yes.
That's totally unacceptable. They're condemning people to death.
The Mexicans say they can't cope with the numbers.
Well, we're gonna have to kick some ass.
Well, I think the president might feel that right now is a bad time to invade Mexico, Bob.
Can we move on?
Yes, sir. All right, our best case scenario is if the eruption stops in 2 days. If that's the case, access to zones 1 and 2 won't be possible until at least 3 to 4 weeks after that. So it's unlikely we'll find any survivors. We can start supply drops into zones 3 through 5 about 2 weeks after the eruption ends if the weather is with us. But it's going to have to be piecemeal, depending on whether the satellite can find clean skies for the aircraft.
That's too long. What about Rick's walk to life?
We can't advise people to walk through the ash. It's just too dangerous.
So are we asking people just to sit there and starve to death? There are hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people stumbling around out there, looking for help.
Sir?
All right. We'll go with walk to life. I need to hear a plan out of this room as to how to do that fast.
Well, it's still raining. Ash?
Save the battery. We're gonna need it outside.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Won't the Air Force be looking for you?
For me?
Yeah, you know. Leave no man behind and all that.
That's the Rangers.
So the Air Force does leave men behind?
I guess.
I should have joined the Rangers. Cheyenne's our best bet. We should head there. FEMA. FEMA knows we're here. They'll send somebody. Kenny, FEMA's got 25 million people to save. By the time they find us, we'll have starved to death. Not if we eat Johnson.
Try it, man.
Definitely a book in this when we get out. Oh, I don't know. One doesn't like to say I told you so.
We assumed that when all the vents merged together to form a new caldera, then the pressure would drop and the eruption would stop. That was our thinking. Then, on day 7, our seismographs began to pick up massive quakes, and we realized that the ground within the new caldera rim was beginning to collapse into the empty space left by the ejected magma.
That's all the major drop points. The Pentagon has 45,000 pallets, 800 planes, and 560 choppers ready to go as soon as it's safe to fly.
Information leaflets?
With the ash jumpers and all the pallets.
You need to see this.
Does this mean...
This means that the pressure holding the eruption column in the air is beginning to drop. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
And now to the news that America has been waiting for, the end of the supervolcanic eruption at Yellowstone National Park. At 9:17 a.m. local time, the eruption column began to collapse.
Ocurrida en el Parque Nacional de Yellowstone, Wyoming, Estados Unidos, parece haber llegado a su fin.
这是整个火山爆发当中具有关键性的转折点。
Huge pyroclastic surges, which radiated out over 100 miles from the base of the column, overwhelming the U.S. Air Force drone that's been monitoring the eruption.
Across America, the overwhelming task of trying to bring aid to the estimated 29 million people trapped by the ashfall begins. Authorities now admit it'll take weeks, if not months, to reach those trapped closest to the volcano.
We're gonna head back toward the interstate and then turn north. Any abandoned vehicles we come across along the way, I think we should stop and check them for water in the washer bottle, food, anything we can use. Okay. Okay. How far? Outskirts of Cheyenne are approximately 25 kilometers. You know, I've got to say, Richard, this has been a crappy book tour so far.
flashlight.
Ready?
Okay.
Come on.
Going up.
All right. You okay?
It used to be BC and AD, before and after Christ. Well, now it's BY and AY, before and after Yellowstone. Before and after the world changed out of all recognition. Suddenly, utterly, irrevocably.
The global effects were not fully felt until a month or so after the eruption had stopped. Billions of tons of sulfur dioxide ejected by the volcano wrapped their way around the northern hemisphere, cutting down the sunlight. Within weeks, temperatures started to plummet, as much as 20 degrees in some places. Then the aerosols jumped to the equator and started to cool the southern hemisphere. The monsoon failed, adding drought to the bitter cold. Climatologists say it will start getting better in a few years. But let's just say, I don't think I'll live to see another tan.
Clear up the scale of what we still have to do all this time on. 80% of the USA covered by ash. 20% rendered unusable or uninhabitable. Cities and towns permanently abandoned. Billings, Cheyenne.